Hi, this is Phil Kaveny. Welcome back to my channel. And I guess I'm wearing the same hat, but figuratively I'm thinking about a different hat. And what I mean by that is I have a lifetime of being involved in women's studies, in women's issues. I was one of the editors of a feminist, award-winning feminist science fiction magazine. And I'm proud to say that I'm going to be giving a paper at the UW Systems Women's Studies Summit, April 14th to 16, 2018, based on a paper I gave the previous year. And what I'm basically doing is I'm giving a paper on what they call meta-ethics. And meta-ethics are ethical systems upon which other ethical systems base. They're sort of the ethical grounding of what we believe in. And what I did in the first paper was I talked about Mary Shelley's use of her novel Frankenstein as a critique for what they call phaleologocentric ethics, which is a kind of ethical system which is gendered male and usually involves exploitation, imperialism, ego, and a lot of other things that have gotten a pretty bad rap historically. Well, my theory after reading that book is that really Mary Shelley was suggesting an ethic, kind of a feminist meta-ethic of care rather than exploitation. The paper is on my blog, and if you go to the works of Phil Kaveny and go to the picture of Mary Shelley, you will see it. Well, so I did the second iteration of this, had to do with the critique of the same phaleologocentric ethic. And what I'm really talking about is malignant hypermasculinity on a personal, national, and planetary level. Well, that's some pretty big words, and that needs to be framed in a more human sense. And I'm going to try to do this by talking about an element in my own experience which overlaps with a biography I'm writing about called The Boys of Summer. And this is me in third grade. And as I've told you, I've mentioned my dyslexia other times. It was at this UW Systems Women's Study Conference, by the way, last year that I found a marvelous paper on performance of a paper on learning disabilities. So in third grade, I remember among the comic books my brother brought home, there was a funny book called Little Lulu. In that funny book, there was a character called Tubby. He was fat like me. I could tell he was very smart, but of course not as smart as Little Lulu. But somehow Tubby inspired me to learn how to read. I remember one of the Little Lulu comic book covers where Tubby asked to have Lulu's bright shining apple. In the next panel, you see that Tubby got the whole apple in his mouth and he's sort of smiling with it behind his teeth. Tubby had a special outfit he always wore, consisting of Bermuda shorts and a sailor hat. In the summer of 1955, that's how I dressed as a boy of summer. Well, nevertheless, not too many years later, I wrote this autobiographical poem called Rumble. It has within it the genesis of what I mean by toxic hypermasculinity, and I think it has some explanation as to why we have things like child soldiers. November 22nd, 1958. It's 1:30 a.m. and the dance has been out for 3 hours. My name is Philip. I'm 14 years old. I'm 6 feet 1 inches tall and I weigh 223 pounds. Sparks fly from the cleats on the heels of my black engineer boots. My black leather jacket fits me when I move, as if I grew it. The lead ball I melted onto the bicycle chain rests uneasily in the pocket of my greasy jeans. In the thirsty machete I have double-edged sharpened and strapped inside my pant leg makes me walk a little like Chester on Gunsmoke. Everywhere I turn, which I fear is behind me. Have I become death, only looking for more death? Please, please, do not scare me. I may kill you. Good Christ, get me out of this alive. That's the poem, and that's kind of a literary and personal expression of this idea of malignant hypermasculinity, which drives scared kids into these roles of expectation that can lead into death. And I sit here now, I guess, God, 60 years later, is that what the experience takes place almost as I describe it, and not too long after all the weapons went into the bushes and something else happened. But the question is, what about all those that don't? And this is their life. And they end up filling our prisons, they end up killing each other. And it's a kind of a horrible thing to think about. But having had the experience, having survived, and having been given other alternatives and the kindness of many people, I think this is the personal level that I intend to speak partially about the program. Although I'm also going to be talking about the philosophical, geopolitical, and ethical level of it. So I will have versions of this paper up as I go along, and it's just from my own personal experience. I thought this morning, well, let's add this to it as a promo for the UW Systems Conference, which is also joint supported by the United Nations. And when I think of child soldiers, I was kind of a child soldier then, but I certainly didn't know what I was fighting. And I think it's not entirely a male thing by any means, but there is something about expectations which trap people into horrible, horrible reality.